What did you do, Alec?
Taking a picture to show you what it looks like.
Oh.
So you might as well have the full...
You see.
Oh, good. You're not bad.
Not bad at all. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you remember the first time you met Francis Bacon?
I can't really, but I think it would have been in Soho somewhere. Because there was a point in my life where I hung out there. I have a funny memory. I might have met him at Christopher's, but I know he didn't really like Christopher or Robert. So why would he have been there? I think I've just made that up in my head.
He called them the Belgravia pansies.
I know, it's awful. Yeah, I remember.
It might have been there because although he didn't like Rob, he often saw him.
Well, maybe. Maybe I did meet him at Chrissy's. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. I didn't really understand anything yet, you know. I was very young. But I liked him, that's all.
How old were you at that time?
About 18 or 19. I mean, the thing about Robert and Christopher and Mick and all of those people, when I was living on the wall, they never came to see me. But Francis did. And the other person was Kenneth Anker. For God's sake.
And did you know anything about his paintings?
Yes. I'd gone to see, there'd been a big retrospective of Francis Bacon while I was even still at school. And my mother took me. She hated it, but I loved it. I loved his work. I loved it. My mother liked the popes, actually. I mustn't say she hated it. She didn't. She thought they were brilliant. And so did I.
And so when you did meet him, you knew about him already?
Oh, yeah. I think I was completely struck dumb. Just smile. I was very quiet when I was that age because I didn't really have anything to say. And I just shut up, in case I made a complete fool of myself. That kind of...
I find it hard to believe.
I know, because I'm not like that at all. But only as I got a bit older and got a bit more confidence. And if I was alone with someone. So when Francis would take me to these little lunches, it was just him and me. And then I could talk. But he'd really talked a lot. When I was a hopeless junkie and I lived on my wall in St. Anne's Court, it's all been built up now. But we used to be a bomb site. And there was a wall where I would sit and lean against. And Francis used to come past this, not every day, but sometimes, on his, I think, I'm putting it together now, he must have been going from the French to have lunch. But he would be alone. And he would just sort of pick me up and say, come and have lunch. And I was anorexic as well as being on heroin. It sort of went together in those days, really. And I was hungry, and I would say, yes, please. And off we'd go to Wheeler's and have the most delicious lunch and have a lovely time. That he didn't comment or judge or say the sort of things people would say, like, how can you be doing this to yourself? And he never said anything. He just accepted that I was doing what I needed to do. And I think he probably hoped I would get through it. But he wasn't going to interfere. It was a bit like Captain Kirk and the Starship Enterprise, where you don't interfere with what you find on the planet. And it was interesting that much later on, when I was reading about him, I found out how much he disapproved of drugs. He never said anything to me.
How do you know he disapproved of drugs?
I read it somewhere. He said to someone that if he had taken drugs, it would have completely devalued. Maybe he said it to me. It would have completely devalued his painting. It wouldn't have been good for his work. People wouldn't have taken him seriously if he had painted on drugs. I think he might have said that to me. Yes. And that makes sense, you know. I loved his face. I loved it that he wore makeup. I loved that. I didn't know about how he got that together, that look, you know, the boot black and all the rest of it. But I thought it was great. We talked about everything. So we did talk about painting a bit. We talked about old paintings mostly, about El Greco and Velasquez and all that, you know, more than his painting. And I enjoyed that very much. But yeah, no, I don't think I would have dared say, gosh, man, I really liked your paintings of the popes. No, I wouldn't have. We talked about the evils of Catholicism. Yes, because I was still trying to recover from Catholicism, and Francis had managed that. And I thought that was pretty good, you know, gave me hope. He didn't believe in God. I think he believed in art, and I think I do too. I felt that only we were there, but of course it wasn't true. But that's how it felt, like we were in a special spotlight, and there was no one else there. I felt that. I was incredibly grateful, of course, but I didn't go on about it, no. Just thanks for a nice lunch, man, that kind of thing.
Did you see him again in different circles?
Yes, I did. Years later, I was living at the Chelsea Arts Club, and Francis would come in there occasionally, and whereupon we would fling our arms around each other like long-lost old friends, and sit next to each other at those long tables, and just pick up, as if I'd seen him yesterday. And I think he was pleased that I wasn't so ill anymore. You know.
And did you, before that, ever go to Muriel's, the colony?
No, I never did. I went years later once with John Michel, but I never went with Francis. I would say that's where he went after lunch. No, I would go back to the wall, or maybe I would go and see Alex Strachey and shoot up. And Francis would go to Muriel's.
And you never wanted to go with him?
I didn't really drink. I would have a couple of glasses of wine with him, but the idea of drinking all afternoon wasn't fun to me. I should have done, I know, because the conversation would have been very amusing. But on the other hand, it seemed to be his own world, you know, and I wasn't really in that.
Exactly. And it seems very sort of charming that he looked after you. I remember him saying once, if he hadn't been a painter, he would have liked to have been a mother.
Well, he was a very good one. That's wonderful. He would have made a great mother, but a mother without judgment or comment, and a mother with a real unconditional love mother. That's what he was.
Bit of a drunk mother.
Bit of a drunk mother, but I was used to that. I probably didn't even notice.
Another thing you said he might have said was that he wouldn't know, and after his death, if his paintings were being in museum.
Yes, whether they were. No, he was very definite about that. They were either going to be on all the great galleries in the world, which is where they are, or they would end up in the dustbin. He didn't know which.
After his death.
Yes.
And what in what context was he talking about? Sort of, why do people worry? We never know what's going to happen to our work.
Yes, I think, and to help me understand my work too. Who knows, what people will make of it. It's not that you don't care. I think he cared. But it was something he couldn't control, really.
And we always ask this: if there was one painting of Francis that you could keep, which would it be?
I think one of the Henriettas, actually. But I did like the Popes. But they're so grand, aren't they? You can't imagine anybody owning one privately. I can't.
You're allowed to keep that if you want.
I think I might, yes. Well, there was obviously in him a deeply sort of, I don't know if it's a religious streak, no, but a deeply spiritual streak, yes. And that must have been one of the reasons why he was drawn to painting the popes. He certainly showed them in a different light. Maybe more accurate, The teeth. My God, the teeth. In one of them, that Pope has got these terrible teeth and his lips drawn back. Oh, maybe he did.
And it's also the word for father as well. That's what some people have pointed out.
Well, yeah, I know. I've read a few books too now, and I know that he loathed his father, and no wonder, really. I think his father was awful to him.
But he never revealed any of that kind of personal.
No.
Good.
He asked me about my father, but my father was rather nice, Professor Faithfull. He wasn't a grim character at all. He just hardly noticed me.
And Francis did paint Mick, I think.
I'm sure, yes.
You haven't seen it?
He wouldn't. No, I haven't. No. He would. I mean, Mick had an interesting face. No question, yeah. And, they could have all camped about together. And I'm sure he put on the London accent and all that stuff, which wasn't really Mick at all. Francis was a great, great gentleman and one of the kindest people I've ever known, and more of a Christian than any Christian I've ever known.